Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently it was a heart attack. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing. A hospital tried to revive him. It failed.
At 74 years old, this humble pastor has spent his entire existence dodging public attention, and now whispers from millions online have grown so deafening that he simply cannot ignore them anymore. After prolonged silence, countless viral theories, and relentless conjecture, many observers now wonder if he has finally reached a breaking point, the moment when staying quiet becomes impossible. His response could reshape one of the internet's most persistent enigmas: what emerged when silence shattered. This pastor recently positioned himself in front of his house of prayer flock in a small Arkansas town, looked squarely at the camera broadcasting his message globally, and uttered something that caught both believers and skeptics entirely flat-footed. He stated, without any fanfare whatsoever, that he is not the musician everyone whispers about, that he understands the narrative circulating, and that while he recognizes people's good intentions when they compare his voice to that legendary performer, he has simply always been who he says he is. If you have tracked this mystery across years, that moment probably felt like a shock to your system, because you anticipated the opposite, a confessional breakdown, the instant this elderly man would finally surrender and confirm what believers already knew. Instead, he delivered a refusal that seemed absolute and unshakable. Yet something critical happened next. He acknowledged the deceased legend's profound influence on culture, expressed honor at being mentioned alongside him, yet emphasized that his devotion belongs to faith, not to celebrity. A voice like Elvis's voice is ministering to broken lives, he explained to his congregation, choosing language so measured that every phrase carried weight. In another documented moment that spread across the web, he addressed his church. If that legendary figure were still alive, he would say, "My friend and fellow spirit, we share kindred sensibilities." His ministry's website now displays a permanent disclaimer: this pastor has never identified as anyone other than himself. Any video, account, or channel claiming otherwise represents fabrication, synthetic media, or unauthorized attribution. This statement became necessary because artificial intelligence has generated fake footage showing what appears to be confessions he never made. Yet the proliferation of these synthetic clips and their viral acceptance reveals how thoroughly this belief has penetrated worldwide imagination. Everything now converges on a single, specific calendar date less than a year away, where evidence will either vindicate true believers or obliterate the entire structure of this conspiracy. The baritone that sparked it all. Before official denials existed, before deepfake technology arrived, before the world became obsessed, there was merely audio. In the middle 2010s, someone uploaded grainy footage of an older gentleman performing a hymn within a simple Arkansas sanctuary, and the internet erupted instantly. His voice possessed depth, richness, and harmonic resonance, a baritone quality so eerily reminiscent of a certain deceased legend that anyone familiar with gospel recordings felt unmistakable familiarity across decades and generations. Tom Mendel, an Elvis enthusiast since childhood with over 50 years analyzing every King recording, watched that clip and publicly declared he felt certain this pastor operated under false identity. He recognized vocal patterns, physical mannerisms, microphone technique, and eye movement throughout the room. Comparison videos multiplied rapidly across social platforms, gathering tens of millions of impressions, with analysts breaking down pitch modulation, tremolo techniques, and phrasing similarities, all suggesting alignment far too extraordinary to attribute to random chance. But something much more technical attracted musicologists' notice. Guitarists without formal training develop unorthodox fingering techniques because they learn through intuition rather than textbooks, and these unique patterns persist unchanged across their entire musical careers like biological signatures. Specialists observed that this pastor and the deceased rock star displayed matching chord manipulation methods, specifically including an irregular fingering choice that conservatory-trained musicians would never employ, yet that someone picking up an instrument young would maintain forever. One YouTube investigation highlighted how Joyce utilized the same unconventional positioning documented in 1960s-1970s concert recordings. When the frenzy intensified, this pastor's response employed language crafted with absolute precision, every word deliberate. He indicated that most attendees at his services understand his actual identity, though it remains irrelevant to them, and that perhaps divine power channels through a voice resembling the deceased legend to address wounded souls. Notice the careful construction. A voice like that performer's voice, not my voice, happens to resemble his. He presented it as an instrument activated by something beyond himself, positioning his words as either humble ministry or the most calculated non-answer ever delivered from a pulpit. The voice alone sparked everything, but when researchers scrutinized this pastor's photographs at high resolution, they discovered physical details that transformed this from acoustic similarity into something considerably more troubling. 3 markings, a bloodline, and 1 test never taken. 3 facial marks consumed believers' fixation. A scar positioned above the eyebrow matching records of a chickenpox mark the deceased star carried from youth. Another scar along the face corresponding to a martial arts accident. A 3rd forehead mark that conspiracists identified as their strongest physical exhibit. A massively viral TikTok video contained claims that the deceased musician's former martial arts trainer acknowledged this forehead scar belonged to his previous student. That assertion received no independent confirmation, though independent verification proved irrelevant to people committed to their narrative. Then, scrutiny shifted to genetics. This pastor's offspring display physical characteristics echoing the deceased celebrity in ways the internet dissects: constantly jaw structure, facial dimensions, and a prominent tooth spacing matching documented photographs of that famous family. The pastor's grandchild shared images online supposedly establishing bloodline connection to the legendary musician, unleashing fresh international obsession that the ministry possessed neither resources nor organizational capacity to counteract. Yet one question hovers above this saga like perpetual storm clouds. This pastor has repeatedly declined a genetic examination, a straightforward, inexpensive, readily available procedure capable of resolving this within hours. Skeptics contend that an individual with nothing concealed would embrace such testing instantaneously merely to reclaim normalcy from pandemonium. Believers counter precisely the inverse. Refusal itself constitutes the ultimate indicator, because someone guarding critical information would never voluntarily surrender the singular piece of evidence risking total exposure. Official documentation identifies him as Robert Wayne, born June 19, 1952. The deceased legend arrived January 8, 1935, placing him at 91 currently. That 17-year differential represents the most convincing counter-argument. Believers respond that witness protection programs fabricate entirely new biographical records, and this pastor maintains remarkable physical condition for his stated age, specifically because decades of anonymity preserved him. These facial marks ignited controversy, the genetic refusal kept flames burning, yet the conspiracy was approaching an entirely unprecedented level of intensity because of one blurry photograph from possibly history's most emotionally wrenching celebrity funeral service. A funeral photograph and institutional silence. On January 12, 2023, the sole offspring of the deceased legend succumbed at age 54 following cardiac complications. The memorial service captured worldwide viewership, and within hours, conspiracy believers identified something extraordinary. A gentleman displaying white hair, dressed in formal attire, positioned throughout the mourning attendees. While the photograph possessed grain and poor positioning, millions of believers insisted this man represented the pastor, witnessing the funeral of the offspring he allegedly abandoned 4 decades earlier. The YouTube account Caffeinated by Elvis conducted thorough investigation, determining the man as a country musician possessing legitimate Presley association through a gospel collaboration with the deceased legend's child from 2018. This debunking proved meticulous and convincing, but dismantling something through logic differs entirely from dismantling it through emotion. And that photograph's psychological weight remained devastating. Imagining a father surrendering everything, risking detection merely to witness his own offspring's final farewell, struck people at depths that rational correction never penetrates. The Presley family has remained completely silent. Neither the surviving matriarch nor documented relatives have delivered direct commentary regarding this pastor. The surviving matriarch confronted her own devastating circumstances, a legal battle with the deceased heir's will regarding trustee removal fracturing that institution and generating a communication void. Conspiracy architects flooded this silence completely. The photograph underwent debunking, yet its damage proved permanent. By 2023, this conspiracy transcended fringe status, drawing an entirely distinct category of observer individuals perceiving the pastor not as concealed superstar, but as covert transmitter broadcasting messaging for partisan and religious movements completely unrelated to entertainment. Frequencies in the sermons. Something transformed in this pastor's world around 2020, disconnected from entertainment matters entirely. Novel advocates flooded into his online worship recordings, not believing he embodied rock and roll royalty, but rather that he channeled coded transmissions. QAnon-affiliated networks and related movements started analyzing his weekly messages, interpreting them as encrypted references regarding global developments, political circumstances, and metaphysical confrontation. One observer remarked that he delivered what she termed wisdom pearls, addressing contemporary circumstances without offering explicit declarations, rather transmitting through frameworks those specific communities recognized instantly and deeply. The instant igniting maximum intensity happened when he shared with his congregation, "During my childhood, I commenced musical training employing a $10 instrument." That statement directly paralleled a moment in a 2022 cinematic biography depicting the young legendary musician receiving an inexpensive pawnshop guitar from financially struggling parents. For believers, this represented a deliberately placed marker in unrestricted territory, a wink from someone unable to speak plainly but capable of whispering through particulars. His website now explicitly declares he addresses religious instruction without incorporation of financial, individual, governmental, or worldly components, a disclaimer required, precisely because outside movements project interpretations onto messages never designed for such layering. Yet believers dismiss such disclaimers completely, and stacked conspiracy frameworks converted straightforward spiritual teaching into a blank surface reflecting whatever audiences required. None of these groups, entertainment believers, coded message followers, or casual observers, anticipated the cruelest component of this narrative. That moment scammers comprehended this pastor's inescapable connection to history's most recognizable persona represented optimal equipment for manufacturing fraud targeting his own supporters. The infrastructure of deception built from identity. This pastor's phenomenon generated something his ministry never imagined and could never manage: an enormous apparatus of fraudulent profiles, fake impersonators, and criminal networks leveraging his persona and appearance to extract funds from susceptible populations worldwide. His ministry website now displays an urgent, permanent notification. Absolutely refuse transferring resources to anyone claiming ministry affiliation online. Never permit them entry to financial accounts. Hundreds of counterfeit profiles operate throughout Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Telegram, WhatsApp, Signal, and crypto-adjacent systems, cultivating intimate associations with elderly and isolated believers across months preceding requests for resources via gift purchases, digital applications, and immediate transfers. The ministry has confirmed this pastor never maintains TikTok, X, Telegram, Instagram, financial apps, WhatsApp, alternative media platforms, Signal, streaming services, cryptocurrency involvement, Every account using his identification across these channels constitutes theft. Artificial intelligence technology has fabricated synthetic video content depicting Joyce distributing admissions he never delivered, expressly channeling targets toward exploitation. The populations most susceptible represent precisely those deriving comfort from deceased legend survival narratives, aging, emotionally connected, and credulous in manners criminals recognize expertly. His ministry communicated something capturing this helplessness far better than any previous commentary. Zero quantity of followers grants reality to fabricated accounts. That phrase symbolizes a tiny rural congregation battling multinational criminal machinery and experiencing defeat. Yet, hidden beneath every scam, each conspiracy, every viral phenomenon, exists one classified file possibly answering the solitary question holding actual significance, and its revelation timer has nearly run empty. The locked document and August 2027. August 16, 1977, the deceased legend deteriorated at his mansion's bathroom by his fiancée. Emergency teams transported him 15 miles to a facility, bypassing a closer location less than 2 miles away, a choice nobody has satisfactorily rationalized. The preliminary pathology determined cardiac malfunction, while subsequent chemical analysis revealed various prescription substances. His father demanded supplementary private examination, sealing findings for 5 decades. That classified investigation surfaces August 16, 2027, barely 12 months remaining. The sealed examination proves explosive for believers because a frequently referenced manuscript alleged liver tissue DNA from 1975 examination mismatched genetic information from the 1977 evaluation, suggesting the individual undergoing examination was not the deceased performer. This assertion never received autonomous verification, while mainstream musicologists and family representatives consistently affirm the established narrative. Yet the assertion persists, and classified findings either substantiate or eliminate it. Funeral witnesses described the deceased as appearing synthetic, with features diverging from known characteristics. A refrigeration mechanism supposedly installed inside the casket, while the entire container weighed approximately 900 pounds. His gravestone displays an alternate spelling of his middle name compared to his documentation, a discrepancy theorists labeled encoded signaling. If the 2027 investigation confirms beyond any dispute that his death transpired that day, this pastoral conspiracy disintegrates irreversibly. But if it includes even marginal inconsistency, the movement will metastasize to dimensions no statement, explanation, or rebuttal will ever contain. The prisoner of unproven suspicion. Robert Wayne Joyce partnered with his companion since 1975, producing 3 children, has submitted every verifiable documentation a person might request. He established his worship house roughly 2020 with minimal initial gathering. By 2014, they maintained a rented modest facility with approximately 35 seating. The congregation operates without compensation for leadership. Absolutely nothing in his verifiable biography recommends he represents anyone besides his stated self. And yet this mystery permits him no escape, because acoustic characteristics demonstrate excessive proximity. Facial marks display troubling exactitude. Genetic evaluation remains professionally declined. His public statements employ language suggesting deliberate construction. His offspring carry resemblances to the famous musician, despite documented non-connection. Preliminary examination results will shortly either validate international observers or generate pandemonium engulfing this pastor's peaceful existence completely. Every Sunday morning, this man addresses his followers, generating vocal tones millions trust belong to entertainment's supreme figure, requesting audiences direct focus toward spirituality rather than personality. And yet, invariably, that world refuses this straightforward plea. Whether he communicates honestly or safeguards civilization's most extraordinary contemporary deception. This pastor will remain eternally barred from simple existence as his authentic self. The accumulated pressure surrounds every syllable he selects, every expression he abandons, and every Sunday when he progresses toward his pulpit, understanding that considerably more viewers examine his countenance than absorb his instruction. This account remains far from termination, and the sealed document releasing in August 2027 might fundamentally transform everything understood about this pastor's background and the mystery surrounding him. Please engage with your responses below, and do not forget to demonstrate support for Crime Brief through engagement with this content. Advise your perspective regarding this pastor's sincerity and share what that concealed investigation might ultimately disclose.